Alright, good morning, good afternoon everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Christine Hullen and I'm the Events and Membership Coordinator at Connecting Up. Today's webinar is about mobile apps and mobile website. This April we'll be bringing you content and learning on mobile because it is a new and emerging technology. It's growing really fast, and a lot of not-for-profits are starting to look into mobile optimization for the organization. So here with me today we have Ryan Jones, who will be taking you through the differences between mobile apps and mobile web, and also some examples to get you start thinking about mobile for your not-for-profit. Um, just a few housekeeping notes for those of you who are new to the program and new to our webinars. If you have any questions anytime during the webinar, please actually type them in the chat or question box, and Ryan will address them towards the end of the presentation. So just keep them coming, and we won't be taking verbal questions just to minimize disruption. We're also recording the webinar, so if you miss out on anything, you can catch up later on, and I will be sending you the link afterwards, and as well together with the slides as well. Anyway, without further ado, Ryan has a fair bit to go through, so I will pass it on to him. Ryan, over to you.
Thanks, Christine. Thanks everyone for coming today. Hopefully we can give you a bit of an introduction, a bit of an overview of mobile apps and what you can do with them, and mobile websites, what the difference is, and what is ideal for your not-for-profit. So to start with, you want to go mobile. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. But why wouldn't you want to go mobile? There are now over 10 million smartphones in Australia, so almost half the population have a smartphone. In New Zealand, it's a similar situation where smartphones make up 45% of the phone market. So this means that instantly you've got a huge audience that can connect with your not-for-profit wherever they are. Because these smartphones go everywhere, so why wouldn't you connect with your audience wherever they are and give them the opportunity to interact with you when you come to their front of mind, whether they see an advertisement or something similar. But there are so many different smartphones. Androids, iOS or iPhone, Windows Phone, the new BlackBerry's just come out, and now we've got Ubuntu and Firefox coming to the mobile market as well. So as a not-for-profit looking to develop an app or a website, what does this mean? There are going to be many different operating environments, so different screen resolutions, different app stores or marketplaces, different phone hardware. So how do we deal with this? Well, the easiest way is to build mobile apps that are built specifically for different phones. And I know the Commonwealth Bank do this, so there's an Android app, an iOS app, and they offer different functionality. Or the other option is to build a mobile website because a web browser and a mobile phone is very similar from device to device. So what is the difference between a mobile website and a mobile app? So a mobile app will install on your phone, whereas a website downloads from the internet, just like a website on your computer. Apps are specific to each platform, so an Android app won't run on an iPhone and vice versa, whereas a website works pretty much on all the platforms. Apps have to be purchased or downloaded via the necessary app stores or markets. So this represents an opportunity for you to sell your app, whereas websites typically don't have a purchase or payment. Apps allow you to send users notifications when an event might be happening or a particular fundraising drive or something similar. Whereas a website, you can obviously allow users to subscribe to newsletters or connect to you via social media, just like you would on a normal website. And an app gives you the ability to use the full phone hardware, like the camera, the GPS, the location features, things like that. Whereas a website is usually limited to content. That won't be the case for much longer though. They're continuing to make strides in this area. So mobile websites are typically simplified versions of a standard website. They're simplified to provide a better mobile user experience, and they do that through improved usability for touch interfaces and fingers, faster page loads for slower mobile networks, and sometimes reorganization of content to bring some of the mobile specific features to the forefront when you're dealing on a mobile phone. A mobile application, on the other hand, is a software application that works on a specific mobile device's operating system and is downloaded to the device to perform a specific set of functions. Apps can also be device specific, such as iPhone. There are some iPhone apps that won't run on an iPad and vice versa. Interesting fact about apps is that most of them don't live on a phone past 30 days. Apps can be deleted, websites can't. So people obviously often need space on their phone, or they just find that they're not interacting with your app quite so much, so they get rid of it. So some of the other benefits / pitfalls of a mobile app. You usually need an app developer to develop your app. It's not usually something that can be done in-house. You need to consider something that your audience would actually want or need before you develop your app. Don't develop another fundraising app. You have to be able to give your audience something that's going to want them to download your app to their phone or to their device other than just the ability to donate to your cause. You need to consider which platform you want to develop for. So Android and iOS combined make up about 80% of the smartphone market, and they're roughly 50-50 depending on which quarter you take the stats from. So do you develop for Android, or do you develop for iOS, or do you have the budget to develop for both? And if you're going to convert your website into an app, the question that you're going to need to ask yourself is, do you even need an app? And we're going to go through that a bit more with some of the examples later on, and that'll give you a bit better idea of when you need an app and when you need a mobile site. The other thing with apps is that they are usually a lot more expensive than mobile sites, because you usually need an app developer to develop them, and that obviously costs quite a bit in some cases. In terms of mobile websites though, they can be developed by your existing web developers most of the time, and in many cases if you're using a common content management system such as WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, there are plugins and themes available to bring a mobile experience to your website. These days the mobile websites are usually HTML5 based, which is the new HTML standard, and your desktop computer can read them just fine as well. They obviously don't require an app download, so they're downloaded when they're accessed, which means that the user almost always is interacting with the latest version. So you can update the website instantly in the back end if you need to update content or you need to fix a spelling error or something without requiring users to download an update. There are also search engine optimization or SEO benefits to mobile websites. Your app will be found on a page in the respective app store, sure, and Google is getting better at indexing all of those things, but a mobile website will have every page indexed. So when a user does a search through Google, they're more likely to find your mobile website than your mobile app. And another important trend that I'm going to be looking at in a bit more detail a little bit further down the presentation is this trend towards responsive design. You may have heard the term responsive design before. If you haven't, responsive design refers to the development of websites which can be resized down to a mobile size and resized up to a nice big desktop display. So this is becoming increasingly common because it allows people to develop one website that can be used across multiple devices. And I've got some pretty good examples of that I can show you later in the presentation. Do we have any questions yet?
Yes, we do, Ryan. Just I guess this will be a question that a lot of people will be quite interested in. For a basic app, what would be a reasonable price? Like really basic, obviously apps vary a lot. So just talking really simple, straightforward, basic app.
There's not really any such thing as a really straightforward, simple app. And some of the stuff I'll go through shortly will give you a better idea of that. But in general, these days, you're probably looking at 10 to 15,000, I've heard quoted. But the cost is coming down quite quickly. So, and there are more people available now who can develop mobile apps. So it's a matter of finding the right developer and getting a list of your requirements. That's it. Okay, cool. And this is a really good example of finding cheaper ways of doing it. There are a lot of these available now. They're online app builders. So the explosion in mobile apps and smartphones has seen websites pop up all over the place with the premise that they can deliver you an easy to build app online for all platforms at once. Some of these are free, some of these are very, very low cost. Many of these produce apps in HTML5, which is the same as mobile websites. And they often include modules which provide basic functionality, such as a newsletter subscription or importing news from your website or a contact function. They can import all kinds of data from your website depending on what your requirements are. You need to consider what you want your app to do before considering if these online app builders will do it for you. A lot of this kind of functionality can be achieved through a good mobile website or even a good responsive website without the hassle of having to consider multiple platforms and the ongoing maintenance and upgrading of those. So the question is, do we develop an app or do we develop a mobile website? So you're probably still not sure of which way the best way is to go, but it basically boils down to what you're actually trying to do and how you're trying to connect with your audience. If you're looking to develop the next Angry Birds, perhaps you have an idea for an interactive app or a game that can connect with your target audience. So if that's the case, then an app is going to be better for you for the foreseeable future. It makes better use of the phone hardware and will allow for far more possibilities, particularly with a lot of the graphics rendering and things like that. If you're looking to offer users a more personalized experience, such as interacting with their own files, and they're going to use this app regularly, an app is usually the best idea. Dropbox or Evernote are good examples of apps that you might be already using that do this. Dropbox allows you cloud storage for your apps that you can then access via your phone. And Evernote allows you to access an online notebook on your computer, on a website, on your mobile, on your tablet, wherever you are. If you want your mobile app or information to be available when a user might be offline or out of mobile reception, which is common in Australia, then an app is ideal. An app is the only way to contain all that data and make it available offline. If you want to offer your users up-to-date news or information, then a mobile website might be the best way forward. And whether this is through some form of responsive design or a dedicated mobile site will depend on you and your budget and your developers that you use. If you want to completely use a phone's hardware, for example, if you want to allow users to take photos, tag them with GPS information and upload them to an app, which is kind of similar to Instagram or Facebook, then an app is the way to go. So let's look at some examples of some not-for-profit apps and some not-for-profit mobile websites and see whether we can get some ideas from that on what you could do for your not-for-profit. iModeling, I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with iModeling, but it was developed by Mighty Kingdom, who are doing a webinar for us in a couple of weeks. And Mighty Kingdom developed this for Autism SA after Autism SA were given some funding by the Telstra Foundation. So iModeling is a video modeling app which is designed to teach skills to people with autism. So you can see on the slide now, it's quite simple, it's got bold colours. They did a lot of research into what colours would appeal to autistic children. It's really easy to enter a basic title, change colours, really easy to then use the phone or the iPod or whatever it is to record a quick video. And you can record multiple clips and then stitch them together, and then you get an easy review screen where you can quite easily see what's fine and what's not and make edits appropriately. So this was designed for autistic children to be able to film an activity and then see it played back and learn visually. And it was also designed for the parents to film activities being performed the correct way, and then they can give that to the autistic children to mimic. This particular app is designed for iOS only at this stage. It runs on iPhones and iPads, but what's been really popular with iModeling is using iPod Touch. So iPod Touch is basically an iPhone without the mobile phone capabilities. It can still connect to wireless networks, it still has cameras, it still has a nice big screen, has all those kind of features. So Autism SA actually monetized this app by selling it in the Apple App Store for $14.99. And it's important to remember that the app stores will take a cut of what you sell the apps for. So in Autism SA's case, they'll pay 30% of that $14.99 to Apple, and the rest of that will go towards them to fund updates and to fund new activities in terms of autism. So this is a really good example of an app that really had to be an app. It couldn't have been a mobile website. It uses the hardware of the phone very effectively, and it also provides an opportunity to give Autism SA a funding source without requesting donations. Ask Someone is an app that actually was a finalist in the Mobile Awards last year, the Australian Mobile Awards. So it was developed by the Southern Metropolitan Region Integrated Family Violence Executive Committee. So basically it's a domestic violence referral pathway system. So it provides people with a basic contact list. It provides people with some basic information in terms of dealing with domestic violence and getting help when you are affected by domestic violence. It also provides safety plans, and it provides maps and information on where you can go to contact people that can assist you. Now, there are a couple of issues with this particular app in terms of its core purpose. In some domestic violence situations, people aren't able to access a phone, in which case the effectiveness of the app is somewhat mixed. But in general, the app was quite effective in terms of giving people access to vital tools that they need to deal with domestic violence and to get the help that they so desperately need. In the particular case of this app though, the functionality that is built into this app, I would say this is an example of an app that didn't actually need to be an app. It could have been developed as a mobile website. All of that functionality could have been incorporated into the mobile website, which would have meant that the data for the contact list could have been dynamically generated. So as new services popped up or services had updated details, they could have automatically fed that into the mobile website. And the other benefit from a domestic violence standpoint would be that the app isn't installed on your phone then. So you've got access to the website whenever you need it, but you don't have the risk of seeing the app on the phone or things like that. So if you're looking at developing this kind of app, all the mapping and things like that can be quite easily done on a website. So definitely look at a website instead. Now, Found Pets is a really good cross-media example. So it's developed by the Animal Welfare League in New South Wales, and it actually won the 2012 Australian Mobile Awards in the not-for-profit category. It's a really good way of reuniting lost pets with their owners as quickly as possible. Local councils supported it and provided information on where pounds are and dogs when they're found, and it's easy to look for a pet that might have been dropped off at a pound or might have been caught somewhere. You can put in a lot of information about the pet that you're looking for. You can also put in quite a lot of information about a pet that you are looking for in terms of when it pops up, things like microchip numbers and things like that. It also gives you a list of pets that were found, and whether you're looking for just a pet that's been lost in your local area or whether you're looking for your particular dog, you can drill down that search results really effectively, and you can see where the nearest pound is that you can go and pick up your dog as soon as possible. And so obviously there's a real need here for this app. Thousands of dogs go missing and get out of the backyard, and we need to be able to reunite those pets with their owners as fast as possible to avoid them having to be destroyed or something like that. But the great thing with found pets in this particular case is the integration with the website. So the Found Pets website actually provides a way to interact with basically the data in the app from a desktop or tablet computer, as well as you have the mobile app when you're out searching for your pet or something like that. The fact that it brings the two of them together means that people have access to this functionality wherever they are, and it also just gives them a bit more ability to search for their pets and reconnect people. Now, this has been really effective for the Animal Welfare League, and it's a really good example of what you can do with the data. With the exception of the ability to take photos and the GPS stuff, a lot of this could have been done with a mobile website, but the fact that they've built in the ability to use your current location to find local pounds and to find local dogs, and the ability to upload photos and take photos of lost pets really just gives the mobile app a bit more functionality and makes it a bit easier for people to use. Now, the World Wildlife Fund, this is a really good example of responsive design like I was talking about earlier. So the World Wildlife Fund have just unveiled this new website, and basically what you're looking at here is the screen on the left is essentially the top half of the screen. The screen on the right is what happens when you scroll down, so you can see a few more of the articles. So they've developed this beautiful, clean mobile experience. So it's really easy to navigate with fingers. They've got a nice big donate button at the top, but you can go there and you can find out information about the work that they're doing and information about the animals that they're protecting, the wildlife that they're protecting. So it's kind of half information, half donation, but people who are interested in wildlife will go there for the news and they might donate while they're there. So that's the mobile experience. So keep an eye particularly on the turtles and on some of those articles. And now if we have a look at the desktop site, you can see that the desktop site continues the theme of using nice big imagery. It's still very easy to navigate, but we've got this great picture of the turtle to open up. So a cause like WWF have such great imagery of the animals that they, the wildlife that they support, and they can use this to great effect like this. This creates a big impact. And if you look at, when you scroll down the articles, the article display is very similar to what you find in the mobile app and the mobile website. And if you go to the mobile website, all you have to do is go to worldwildlife.org on your mobile. You will see the newsletter sign up, the news articles, all of those things at the bottom of the page if you keep scrolling down. There's great article displays, there's lots of great information there, and it's really laid out really effectively. If there's any motor racing fans on this webinar, some of you will know I'm a bit of a nut. V8 Supercars in Australia have just unveiled a new website which is very similar to this in terms of great imagery. It's a very responsive website, so it scales from a nice big desktop down to your tablet, down to your mobile, gives you a very consistent experience, which also gives them consistent branding across all of their platforms. And it also is more and more, as download speeds are becoming faster and faster, people can use these big images to such great effect. And it really allows your audience to connect to what your organisation is doing and get them excited about supporting your not-for-profit. Do we have any questions on the examples, Christine?
Yeah, there was one question about using GPS to do location on mobile web, but we did mention that you already had an example on that, the pet one, so that's using a geolocation locator. But there is a question about App Store charges. If the app is free, will App Store still charge a percentage for the app to be promoted or to be made available on the store? And is there a minimum charge per sale?
No, they don't charge for free apps, but you do have to have an account with the App Store. So it costs you $99 to have that developer account. Once you have that developer account, you can then submit your apps.
The question here from Natika, again to do with location. Can we link information from a set of websites or an online portal into an app? For example, if they have a network of 108 centres throughout the regional and remote WA and want to create an app to help people who are travelling to locate the centres and see what services are available and the cost. So if they can feed in from the website and the portal into the app or the mobile web, that would be great.
Yeah, you definitely can do that. I actually think, trying to think of a good example, I think the Good Guys in South Australia, they do something similar, where when you load up their mobile website, it automatically shows you what your nearest store is. And that's done through a website, that's not even done by using an app. So that kind of thing can definitely be done. I guess the only issue with remote WA would be whether the people would run out of mobile reception, in which case then maybe an app would be better suited. GPS will still work, and GPS will be able to locate the nearest centre on the app, on the map. Okay, well, I'm going to move on to a couple of not really not-for-profit examples, but a couple of examples of ways that you can make money out of your app without requesting donations, and you can make a useful app that people are going to fall in love with and use forever and promote to all their friends. So one of the things here is monetisation of mobile. So if you're selling an app, it's really easy to monetize. You sell your app for 99 cents, $2.99, whatever it might be, and you get 70% of that if it's Apple's App Store, and that 70% can go straight back to your not-for-profit. Whether that funds future developments on the app, that's beside the point, but the functionality is there. But if you have a website, you can't really charge people to go to your website. Well, you can have subscriptions. That's one way of doing it. One of the most popular ways these days is advertising. Advertising's been around forever. Mobile advertising, website advertising's been around pretty much as long as the internet, and now we're seeing a trend towards mobile advertising. So you can see here I've got two examples. I've got our local Adelaide media, Adelaide Now. They've got an advertisement for Scary Movie 5, just in case anyone's really interested in seeing a great movie. And then we've got on the right-hand side, we've got an American website called Autoblog, and they have the ad right at the very top of the page. So this provides you with a way of promoting, whether it be paid sponsors or whether it be just random ads similar to the Scary Movie ad or whatever. It provides you with some form of advertising and monetization for your mobile site. You can use that space to ask for donations, or you can just use it as an extension of what you're already doing. That's one of the main ways to monetize a mobile website. If anyone gets particularly keen, they can do subscription-based services and things like that, but that's sort of the most common. Do you have a question on that? No? Okay, cool. So if you really, really, really want an app that will help you raise funds, you really need to consider what will your audience download, what will your audience put on their phone, and what will they continue to use. Rather than developing a one-off app that asks people to donate to your cause, why not develop an app that users can benefit from? They're getting something out of it and they're happy to pay for the service. The iModeling example from Autism SA is a great example of this. It provides simple functionality which gives the families of autistic people a great service. And for those people, the $14.99 that Autism SA typically charge for the app is great value and really helps them out. At the moment, Autism SA have got iModeling on special as part of Autism Month, so it's only $2.99. So it's a good way of having an app on your target audience's phone. You can then push out messages to them, you can keep communicating to them, and you do get a return on that. Another example is maybe a game. So you may, I'm not sure whether anybody on the webinar has seen Temple Run. If you haven't, go and get it. It's really addictive and fun. Or Angry Birds. Angry Birds is pretty common one these days. So there are branded versions of these games that are out these days. Angry Birds Star Wars that I showed before. There's Temple Run Brave and Temple Run Oz that they've done for a couple of different Disney movies. So users pay somewhere in the vicinity of 99 cents to $2.99. They get a game that is going to entertain them, and the money then flows back into what can flow into your not-for-profit. So the game doesn't necessarily have to be that original, I guess is the point I'm trying to make, but it has to be entertaining, and it has to, if your users can be entertained, then that's the main benefit there. If you, in the end, you really need to come up with a concept which is a good fit for your organisation, a good fit for the cause that you're trying to promote, and something people will be happy to pay for. Whether that's a game on how to protect wildlife, which is aimed at young children, or whether that is something a bit more adult or something for all ages. You have to be able to make sure that before you go down the road of developing the app, that you've got a concept that people are happy to pay for and will help your not-for-profit. Do you have any questions on that, Christine?
I have a question not specifically on that, but you mentioned app builders before earlier in the presentation. Do you recommend using them as a cost-effective way to get a charity in the app market?
No. That's the easy question. In most cases, what you can get out of one of those app builders will be very similar to what you can get out of a mobile website. And those app builders, they can be interesting to use. I more brought that up just as a way of showing that this is out there, and at the moment some of them are okay, some of them aren't that great, but that's definitely going to be something in the next couple of years. Those kind of things are going to explode, and they are going to be better at offering that app development functionality. So some of them now are getting really good, but at this stage I'd probably say no, it's not a great way of getting your toe in the water. Okay, so that's almost the end of the presentation really. If you need more help, we do have a couple of webinars coming up. On the 18th of April we have an app on monetizing mobile. So that will go into a bit more detail of how you can monetize your website, and a bit more on the question I had before about the percentage that goes to the App Store and things like that. And Jindu from Mighty Kingdom is also going to be doing a webinar on the 22nd of April on steps to effectively plan for mobile app development. Jindu is a really good, really experienced app developer, so that'll be really worthwhile. And the other thing to bear in mind is just yesterday we launched our new membership program, and as part of that membership, members get a free mentoring session. So we're happy to sit down with you and talk about the concept that you might have for your mobile app, and talk about whether that's an effective app or effective website, or exactly how you can make the most out of that. So have we got any more questions?
Yes, we do have a question about cost of development again. This is also just to mention, following on from Ryan's last slide about upcoming webinars, things like cost and developing app will be something that we'll look at in more deeply when we on the 7 steps of effectively planning your mobile app. But just as a rough guide, if you're developing a game to raise funds, what sort of costs would you be looking at for good graphics?
For good graphics, okay. I think I've spoken to Jindu from Mighty Kingdom about this before, and I think he told me that typically you'd be looking at sort of 15 to 25,000. So, I mean, that sounds like a lot, but like I said before, the cost is coming down. There are grants that are available these days to fund activities like that, and it does very, very, very much depend on what you're actually trying to do. It may be that you can find an app developer who's willing to support your organisation and willing to help you out with that. I really don't like talking costs without having some idea of what you're actually trying to do. It's really tricky. It's almost like walking into Toyota and asking how much a car is. There are so many different options and so many different variants that the best bet would be to put pen to paper on what you actually want, and then you could look at how much it's going to cost.
Thanks, Ryan. Just following on that again, Jindu is presenting the webinar on the 22nd of April, which is a Monday afternoon at 1:30 Eastern Time. So if you do have more specific questions on the app development specifically, that will be a really great opportunity for you to go and actually have a chat with him afterwards as well, because he, as Ryan mentioned, he was the one who built the Autism Essays app, and he's done a lot of different apps, and he actually did a workshop for us last year on developing a mobile app and going through budgeting, planning and all that. So they'll be going into more detail. If you're already thinking about developing an app, these are the steps that you need to take when you start developing, finding the right partner, building on different platforms. So it will look into detail in those things on that webinar. So have a look through on our website, connectingup.org/events, for information on that. A few questions here, Ryan. iTunes takes 30%. Are the other platforms similar in terms of costing for Android or etc.?
I don't know off the top of my head. It is fairly typical to take somewhere around 30%. I don't think anybody takes more than 30%, but that would be something that you'd need to chase up with the specific markets.
Where can you find good app developers?
Well, I guess it depends on what kind of app you're looking to develop. Again, I think a company that develops games may not be the best app developer for somebody who's looking to develop a geolocation service or vice versa. There are some really good ones in Australia that are around. There are some really good ones in the US as well. I think usually Google. It sounds really bad, but I've found some really good app developers through Google. Another good way of looking for an app developer is if you find a particular app on the App Store and you really like it and it's really exactly what you want, all of those pages on the App Store give you the name of the developer or the name of the publisher. So if you go onto the iModeling page on the iTunes Store, it says that the developer was Mighty Kingdom, and then you can just feed that into a search engine and find the details for the company that produced that app. And that will get you started down a road and finding not just the company that built that app, but companies that that might build be competitors to that company and build similar apps. If you want to email me that question offline, I can send you some links to some app developers in Adelaide.
Great. Linda is asking, she knows you can develop a game and a program can output to the various formats. Is that the same for general apps, or do they have to be developed as iOS or Android and you custom make it every time?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So when you develop an app, can it automatically output to various formats like the iOS or Android, etc., or do you have to make an app for every single platform?
You need to make one specific to each platform. In some cases, there may be some commonality. So it's not as if building a iOS app and then building an Android app it's going to be double the cost because you're building two. There'll be some economies of scale, but it's definitely not something that you can just export out an iOS version and an Android version. It's very similar to a Mac and a PC. Mac software won't run on a PC and vice versa, with some exceptions. But yeah, some of these new online app builders are promising that they can compile apps for multiple platforms at the same time. I would expect that most good app developers will be able to do something similar, but yeah, it's definitely not the same code.
Just a generic question. Do you have a preference for a great note-taking or minute-taking app?
Yes, Evernote is what I use, and I've been using it for years. And I have all of my notes on my phone, my tablet, my work laptop, my home laptop. Every computer that I use, I have access to my notes. Ben here, some of you will know Ben, who manages all of our social media. He's just started using Microsoft's OneNote because that's integrated a bit more tightly with Office. OneNote now has apps for Windows Mobile, Android and iOS, and he's finding that OneNote's working quite well as well. So, but my personal preference would be Evernote.
That's basically the last question. Does anyone else have any question they would like to know about mobile web and mobile app on a basic level? We're not going to go through too much technical, as the idea of the webinar is just to give an introduction of the difference between them and to start getting you thinking of which one suits your organization more. So yeah, it doesn't seem to have any other question. I think we had gone through some really great examples of the different types of not-for-profit apps.
Does anyone have any questions on a concept that they might have and they're not sure whether it would be better as a mobile website or a mobile app? Happy to look at a couple of examples or a couple of thoughts people might have.
We do have some time left, so about 10 or so minutes. So if you do, just type them through and Ryan can address them. Otherwise, I would just mention again about our upcoming webinars on the 22nd of April. That one is not a free webinar. It is a paid webinar for $40. But Ryan, I'll also take this opportunity to talk about membership, which is something that we just really recently launched. It was actually only yesterday. So if you are keen and you're quite strongly involved with, highly involved with Connecting Up, you've attended a lot of our webinars in the past and you find them useful, as a member you can get 20% off every single event that we run, whether it's a webinar or a workshop, and also the mentoring session that Ryan mentioned earlier on as well. Yeah, there's no other particular question here. I also just posted a message on the chat window on a website that Drew Harvey shared with us about a great discount app for not-for-profit, and it's free. And just a few comments from people saying that it's very informative and fantastic to listen to. So thanks, Janelle, for the comment. um, anyway, I will send a follow-up email with a link to the recording and this copy of the slides, as well as information on those webinars that I mentioned about, so you can have a look through at your own time. The monetizing webinar that is on next Thursday, the 18th, it will mainly primarily look also at how you can use mobile to raise funds. Well, specifically on how you can change donors into lifetime supporters and how you can use text campaign and all those different methods on mobile technology to do that as well. All right, well, it doesn't seem like we have anything else, Ryan. So on that note, I would like to thank Ryan for the presentation. I'd like to thank you all for participating and attending, and I do hope to see you again at our next webinars this month. Thanks, everyone, and have a good afternoon.